Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Joe's Hot Takes 25, Season 2, Episode 2. Peace. Right on. Wow, today I want to talk about something that's kind of getting near and dear to all of our hearts, and it's a little thing called free speech. Let's talk about free speech. But before we talk about free speech, let me tell you about my books. I got a book. I wrote it last year. It's called The Cop in Me, and it is a story of my life. The trials and tribulations of Joe Favazzo. Super exciting, riveting. You can get it on Amazon, and you can also get this on Barnes & Noble. I love it. Get you a copy. You'll love the book. I'll sign it for you if we can get together. I also took all of my 25 hot takes from last year and put them in a book called Mic Drop, 25 Takes That Make You Think. All 25 chapters are right here in the book. It's an easy read. It's fun. I think you'll enjoy it. You may agree with me. You may disagree with me, and that's okay. I like that as long as we're just having a conversation, as long as we're just talking. We're not fighting. We're not arguing. We're maybe disagreeing. Maybe we're agreeing. But that's part of our beauty of free speech. So you can find that book also, Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Yeah, read it, take a look, see what you think. Give me a response. And like I said before, if we can get together, I'd be happy to sign your book if you want it signed. You might be like, no, Joe, I'm going to use the pages for my restroom. But I hope you don't. It was a lot of fun putting these books together, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you, one, for listening to Joe's Hot Takes 25. Thank you, two, for supporting these books that I'm putting out. And we will put one out with all of this year's hot takes in book form as well. That'll come out next year. Okay, let's go. Free speech. Yeah, woo. This is a hot topic right now, right? It has become really the centerpiece for some really heated arguments. And it's usually political. So, it's terrible. Every political fight, every Twitter thread meltdown, it's all about free speech. So, here's the hot take. Free speech is one of the most celebrated, misunderstood, and, let's be real, misused concepts in American life. Okay, so what exactly is free speech? What is that? And does the First Amendment, because we hear everybody shouting about the First Amendment, does the First Amendment give us carte blanche to just say whatever we want, whenever we want, and wherever we want? Or is there a little more to this? So spoiler alert, there's a lot more to freedom of speech. So stick with me. We'll take this little tour together because by the end of this episode, you might look at your right to free speech slightly differently. I don't know where you stand on it. I'm not going to take a position here. I'm going to give you some information and some facts. Sometimes you can read between my lines and kind of see what I'm thinking. But I try to keep my facts or my opinions out, even though a hot take, by definition, is an opinion. It's generally an opinion that has not been researched. So I'm taking hot takes a different way. These are non-opinions. These are questions that are researched, but the questions are asked. Here we go. Segment 1. So, what the First Amendment actually says. Let's find out. Let's start at the beginning. So, knowledge is power. If we know what it is, then it helps us. The First Amendment, 1791, Bill of Rights, reads in part, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech or of the press. Now, You know I'm not a big press fan. I'm not a big fan of the media. So maybe we should have left that part out. But anyway, but that's the deal. So notice something? It doesn't say anything in here about your boss, your school, your Twitter, your X account. It's about government action. Okay. The Supreme Court has since interpreted this to mean the government can't silence you simply because it doesn't like what you're saying. That's the heart of it, right? So when I hear people say America sucks and people, America's the worst and all these things about America, which really aggravates me because where else can you get free speech? And people say, you can say what, no, you can't. No, you can't say whatever you want. Go to Russia. Matter of fact, try to watch some Russian news and see what they're saying right now. How about Chinese? How about any of these communist countries? Try to find out if you have free speech there. Folks, I hate to break the news to you. Facebook, X, all of their social media accounts in some of these countries are heavily, heavily restricted. So you say anything about your government in those countries, and you're not only probably going to go to jail and break rocks, but they may come after your family. That's a reality. How about in the Middle East and some of these Islamic countries? Do you think you have free speech there? No. Women aren't even allowed to speak in some cases. So there's no free speech there. So when people say, oh, I hate America, America sucks, blah, 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 guess what? You have no idea, unless you've traveled or done research, you have no idea what you're talking about. This is the greatest country in the world. It truly is. And we have this beautiful thing called a Constitution, and that Constitution and that First Amendment does give us the right to free speech. So I can speak out against government things, against actions of the government without retribution. Nobody's going to come and arrest me or my family. All right. But we have to do it with respect, we have to do it with honor, and we have to do it with dignity. Okay. All right, here we go. Sorry, I got a little... So can you walk into a crowded theater and yell fire? No. You can't do that. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to get arrested. Okay, so don't do it. And, Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes, former Supreme Court Justice, made that famous point in a case which was Schnenek versus the United States back in 1919. The idea was this: your words can't create, are you ready for this? A clear and present danger. Your words cannot create a clear and present danger. You yell fire in a theater and it causes a clear and present danger because people panic and people get hurt. All right. Now I want you to think about some of these protesters who are out there running around these streets, yelling and screaming and ranting and raving and the things that they're saying and the hate that they're spreading. And I'm not taking a side. I'm not going to take one side or the other here. I'm saying both sides. Be careful, okay? Free speech, it protects you from the government coming after you for disagreeing with them. That's what your free speech protects you from, okay? Now, and it's never really been an absolute, right? You have to use common sense, folks. And I know that you know that. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you have common sense. All right, segment number 2. Let's talk about this. What's protected and what's not? So I did a little research. Here's what we found out. We're going to break it down really simply. Here's what is protected speech. Criticizing your government, all right? So if you don't like the president and you want to criticize the president and you're respectful and you have a little class, that's okay. Nobody's going to come after you. It's okay. You can express unpopular or offensive opinions. Now, maybe healthcare. Maybe you have an opinion on healthcare, and it could be one way or the other. and you're really passionate about your opinion on healthcare and how the government is handling it. And that is okay. We encourage your free speech, but do it in a way that not provokes, but how about this? Let me rephrase that. Do it in a way, do it in a way that does not provoke fighting or arguing. Do it in a way that provokes thoughts. Just like I try to do with this podcast. Provoke thought. Have a conversation. Talk about it. I have friends that have different political views than I do, and we get along just fine. We share our opinions. Nobody stands firm one way or the other, and we find out through conversation that really there's a couple things on this side that we disagree about, a couple things on this side that we disagree about, but most of the stuff in the middle, we totally agree on. Wow. And I bet you'll find that with a lot of people. Just talk. Have a conversation. Just be respectful. Have class. Do it with the right reasons. Do it with goodness, not with hate. Okay. That was a soapbox. I shouldn't do that. Now, symbolic acts like burning the flag or wearing a protest armband, those are protected. You can do that. Now, I personally, being former law enforcement, my son military, when you burn the American flag, it hurts me. It hurts me. There's no reason to burn an American flag. America is a great country. Respect America. Respect our flag. Respect what people had to go through for that flag to fly free and for you to have free speech. Think about that. And just be respectful. I can't say that enough. Now, interestingly, you do, you're right, have this other right, and it's called the right not to speak. You don't have to speak. So if you want to refuse to say the Pledge of Allegiance, you have that right. You can refuse to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and nobody's going to arrest you for it. Again, I can't stress this enough. Be respectful. Be respectful. When the Pledge of Allegiance is going on, don't be the guy that refuses to stand. Don't be the person that refuses to cover your heart. Don't be the person that turns your back on our flag or our people, because a lot of good people gave their lives, gave their limbs, gave blood, sweat, and tears to protect our flag and our country, so that you have this right to act that way, okay? So please, give them the respect. You don't have to agree with it, but please give them the respect. That goes back to everything I say in my podcast. Be kind to one another, please. It's so important. We can disagree, but we can also, on a lot of cases I think we're going to find, we can agree. All right. Now, what's not protected? Okay. Incitement of violence. You cannot incite violence. You're going to get arrested. All right? So when you're hanging out at the protest and everybody's holding up their signs and people are chanting whatever they're chanting, and somebody says, you know what? Let's break those windows. Well, now you've incited violence. That's a criminal act. You're no longer protected. No longer. And you should be arrested for causing a riot, for causing violence, for causing damage, for hurting other people. You should be arrested for that. I absolutely endorse that. True threats, making threats, it's not okay. You can't do that. You're going to be arrested. You're going to get put in jail. Defamation. You can't lie or make up things about someone in a way that would hurt their reputation. So you see this in Hollywood all the time, these defamation lawsuits. So be careful about that. Your words can come back to haunt you and can land you in court. And that can hurt, cost you financially. Clearly, I don't even need to bring this up, but in my research it came out, so I'm going to say it. Things like child pornography, obscenity, and speeches and integral to crimes, not okay. All those things will get you put in jail, as you should be put in jail if you're going to partake in these things, in child pornography, period, in any kind of obscenity or anything that kind of entices people to commit crimes. Then you're guilty too. Sorry. Now, fighting words. Yeah, it is a legal term. Fighting words is a legal term. And basically, words that are intended to provoke someone into punching you in the face right on the spot. That is not okay. Can't do that. So if you want to get in somebody's face and start calling them names and provoke them with fighting words, you say, I'm going to hurt you, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and they feel in fear and they react, you could be in, not only have a broken nose, but get put in jail. So think about that before you start trying to provoke a fight. It's not okay. Again, be respectful, be kind. We can talk through this. We're humans, we're civilized. Talk through it. Okay. So, yes, you still can stand on the corner and shout out that you think pineapple belongs on a pizza. You can do that and nobody's going to care. And you can say that you hate taxes, because we all do. And that's okay. You can even say that your governor is the worst governor, in your opinion, in history. That's okay. You can do that. But what you can't do is use your voice to directly endanger others. And that's what's been happening if you watch the news. And the news loves to stir that pot. Okay, segment 3, the workplace and social media. Woo, gray zone, folks. We love to post stuff on our social media accounts, right? That's why I don't. Here's where things get a little messy, because people often confuse free speech with freedom from consequences. All right, so let's say you post something really vile and nasty on Facebook, right? The government's probably not going to come knocking on your door, right? They don't care. But your boss, that's a different story. Employers absolutely have the right to fire you if your speech conflicts with workplace values or politics. Policies, not politics. So if your speech, the things that you put on your social media account, are in conflict with your workplace values or policies, you can be terminated. And that's okay. Now, there's an attorney. Her name is Nicole Patino, and she put it pretty bluntly. I found this on the internet when I was doing some of this research, and I loved her quote. Her quote is, "While everybody has First Amendment rights, it doesn't actually apply in the workplace." Okay? So all your First Amendment does is protects you from the government coming after you because you said the government sucks. But if you say your boss sucks and put that on social media, you could get fired for that. Just keep that in mind. So yes, you can say it. It's okay. You can say it, but there may be consequences. You may lose your job. And in today's social media, remember this, screenshots live forever. That stuff never goes away. When you post something, it's there, and it will haunt you later in life. So, you've heard it. You've watched the news, or you've watched on social media where they talk about somebody that got fired because they put up a tweet and it went viral. Or an old Facebook post resurfaces and it tanks some politician's career, right? Because they posted some rhetoric 15 years ago, and now all of a sudden it's resurfaced and it sinks them. So that's not the First Amendment failing them at all. It's society now holding people accountable, and not your government. It's one another. Now, if you want to post stuff, post it, but be smart, and I can't say it enough, be kind, and I can't say this enough, if you're going to post something, make sure it's accurate, fact check it. Just because somebody said it or you read it on X or Facebook or whatever, saw something on TikTok, make sure it's accurate before you spew it back out, because you could be held accountable for the misinformation. Okay? All right. Protests, public order. This is segment 4, and the line between free and illegal. Okay? All right. So protests. So you've seen these marches, people blocking highways, people chaining themselves to doors of government buildings. Is that protected? All right. Kind of. It can be in some ways. The First Amendment gives you the right to do a peaceful assembly. So peaceably assembling is okay. But that right is subject to time, place, and manner restrictions. And that's legal. That's what the courts say. That means you can't block traffic indefinitely. Now, I suppose you could get by marching across the street and holding up traffic for a couple of minutes. You could probably somehow make that work. But beyond that, it's illegal. You can be arrested. You can't barricade entrances to buildings. Okay? It's just as dangerous as barricading people from getting out as it is barricading people from getting in. People need to get in. People need to get out. You can't do it. It's illegal. And if it's a peaceful protest, right, and then it escalates into violence, that can quickly become and be declared by the police as an unlawful assembly. When that happens, bad things happen to the protesters, right? You get water cannons shot at you, you get tear gas shot at you, maybe rubber bullets shot at you. So think about that before you decide to protest and not be peaceful. Again, just be respectful, be kind, right? It's okay. You know, did your parents ever tell you, kill them with kindness? Well, get out there and protest. I'm support it. Get out there and protest. But you do it with respect. Okay. Civil disobedience. Breaking the law on purpose as a form of protest, you're not protected by free speech. That is not protected. It's a choice, and it often comes with legal consequences. Now, think about Martin Luther King Jr., right? Martin Luther King Jr. was an activist. Now, he went to jail for his activism, fully aware that civil disobedience carried penalties. He knew it. He did it anyway. He was making a point. So if you're okay with the consequences, then do it. But unfortunately, some of the consequences we've seen recently in 2025, going into 2026, are death, homicide, death threats, aggravated assaults, assaults on police officers, criminal damage to buildings and vehicles. This is not okay. This is not what civilized societies do. So get it together, folks. Please. Do it peacefully. All right. Like I said, you can march, you can chant, you can hold up your signs, you can do all that stuff. But when you start blocking ambulances from reaching a hospital or police from getting to help people, man, that's where it stops. All right. I beat that horse to death. All right. Segment number 5, we're going to talk about practicing free speech with respect. Okay? So here's a twist. Maybe the real question isn't what can I legally say? Maybe it's how can I use my voice responsibly? How can you make a difference? You want to make a difference. That's why you're going to protest. That's why you want to speak out, because you want to make a difference. So if you want to make a difference, what's the best way to do it? Right? You can catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So free speech is both a right and it's a responsibility. So practicing it well and doing well with free speech means listening actively, not just shouting louder. Listen, speak, talk, use your words, be kind, listen, understand. Engaging in real dialogue, right? This isn't Twitter level hiding behind a phone or a screen. This is, we're not going to take shots at people and have screaming matches. This is face to face, real life. Engage in real dialogue, something that's meaningful. People will respect you. People will respect that you're calm, you're composed, and you're speaking clearly without raising your voice, without being demeaning. You're listening actively, and you're sharing your perspective. Anybody that doesn't respect that needs to turn around and walk away, right? They don't need to be involved. Now, defending someone else's right to speak, even if you don't agree, that is so important. There's so many of us that we have an opinion and we don't want to hear any other opinion. We just want to hear ours. But sometimes you need to stand up for somebody and say, listen to their side. There's some truth in that, or there's some validity to that. Maybe we can find some common ground. It's really important. It's really super important to, really look for that common ground and don't just speak over people. All right. So the only way that we can really protect speech is if we're not really, if we just don't cause problems, don't get arrested, don't do these things. Just stay calm, stay focused, and be polite. Okay? Now, as my neighbor rides his Harley down the street, I hope you can't hear it. Segment 6, we're going to connect the dots, the division and respect, right? So in past episodes, I've talked about two-party politics and how it divides us. So I've also covered racism, where people spew hate simply because someone looks differently. They don't like it, or they live in a different way, and they spew hate for this. I don't understand that. So isn't that the same energy that we see when we see people use free speech, though, as a shield? They try to shield themselves with, I'm going to hurl insults, right? And I'm not going to debate the issue. I'm just going to hurl insults, and then I'm going to hide back here behind this thing that's called free speech. That's not okay. And so when we close our eyes, right, our ears, when we close our ears and we refuse to listen and we shout down the other side, that's not freedom, it's failure. That's failure. That is failure. The whole point of free speech is the idea to compete. If you just yell hate and shout out at the other side, you've already lost the debate. No one's going to listen to you or take you seriously. So the strongest voices aren't the loudest. They're the ones willing to wrestle with the opposing ideas and still stand strong. Those are the ones. Okay? So please, let's not just spew hate. Let's start being kind to one another, listening to one another, looking at all sides. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to wrap it up. Because I've really kind of taken a soapbox here. I try not to do that, but it's kind of close to home for me. I was a police officer for nearly 30 years, and I swore to protect our country. I swore to protect our citizens, whether they protested or not, whether they agreed with me or not, whether I agreed with them or not. I swore to protect them to whatever level I had to. And all police officers and all military personnel do that. So sorry if I have a little bit of opinion in there. Okay, free speech. All right. It doesn't mean freedom from consequences. Just remember that. You can criticize, you can question. That's what this is all about, especially this podcast. It's about asking questions. It's about questioning things. It's about getting the facts and then making our own educated decision about whatever that topic is. So, here's my challenge to you. Listen with intent. Please, listen with intent. Understand with kindness. Listen to what they have to say. Understand them with kindness. And then debate the topic with respect. Debate the topic with respect. Bring knowledge to the table, not just noise. Okay? Words, they can change the world, but you have to use them wisely. Okay. That's it. This was Season 2, Episode 2, Joe's Hot Takes 25. I want you, please, be well. Please be kind to one another. And always, always stay curious. Curiosity is the best thing in the world because it makes us ask the questions, it makes us do the research, and then we learn. And I will see you next time on Joe's Hot Takes 25. Be well.